G'day guys, Ross here in the garden. Not my own garden, and I'm standing in front of a tree. Not my own tree. So this is a very, very healthy lemon tree, and we can see that it's got a great form. It's got these beautiful dark glossy leaves, and it's overall a really healthy tree. Now my previous neighbour used to work in a nursery, and he's done a good structural prune where he's cut the central leader and he has all his branches coming out like this, which is what you want to get the most amount of productivity out of your tree. However, he left, my new neighbour Jason's turned up, and today I'm going to show him and you how to prune a citrus tree. Now, when we're pruning it, the first thing we need to do is equipment. So the equipment in my hand here, I have a pair of secateurs, and on the ground, I've just got a pair of tree loppers. And that's just for the slightly thicker branches. Both of these have been cleaned with isopropyl alcohol, or you could use tea tree oil or eucalyptus oil. You could even use something like White King like in the kitchen, but if you do that, you've got to then wash it underwater because you don't want that stuff touching your tree. So you only need a couple of bits of equipment. A pair of gloves is handy, but not mandatory. Next thing I'm going to do, once I've got my equipment sorted, is I'm going to walk around the tree and I'm just looking for the 3 Ds. The 3 Ds for pruning are dead wood, damaged wood and diseased wood. Now on the other citrus I've got right to the right of the camera here, there's actually a whole little dead branch. I want to show you what that looks like, and if you have that, bang, it's gone. There's no point having dead wood on the tree. Diseased wood, you can look for, the branch looks a different colour, it's got maybe scale on it, but if this was starting to get black, for example, I'd be looking at some sort of application to try and fix that. The damaged one is the most common. Now, we don't have any damage in this tree, or very little, but we're going to have. And I can tell that because we have things like this. Here's a branch coming out this way. It's going towards the inside of the tree. But I've got branches coming this way and that way, and eventually they're going to meet. And they're going to rub, and that's going to rub the bark off. So you can have a hole in your tree. That'll let in moisture and potentially insects, disease. Okay, so we're going to nip that in the bud as part of the pruning process. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen because we're probably 6 months or a year away from that situation. So we'll get rid of that, and that means we won't have that rubbing. So once I've got that done, I sort of know what I'm working with, then I'm going to go in and prune it. Now this is on a little rise here, so I'll step up into the tree here. My general rule with all citrus and my pear trees, apple trees, peach, apricot, all the fruit trees, is keep them to 2 meters when I prune, and that will allow them to do a bit of a growth spurt, and they'll usually go up to about 2.5 meters at the most. Now if you've got a really tall tree, you've got to think the root system is trying to keep all of that fruit ripe. It's trying to ripen it up. It's a lot of area that's got to serve nutrients, and the nutrient base, which is the root system, isn't that big. So bring it down, you can get to it, and you're better off having less fruit, but really juicy, healthy, tasty fruit, rather than more fruit that's hard to get to and will take ages to ripen up. So first of all, I cut to height. Now at 2 meters, that's about 1.5 meters above the top of the trunk. So then I'm going to come out 1.5 meters all the way around, and I'm going to cut it and then more or less just have a ball shape. Okay, so that's my choice. You can, if you want to, you could have it a shape that goes further out, elongated, that's quite fine as well. In fact, I've seen them where they're 2 or 3 meters around. They're actually quite a big tree, but they're short. And it really just depends on you. And of course, this one here is a grafted tree. It's got a nice big trunk on it. It'll support a tree that comes further out, but a young tree wouldn't, because potentially it's going to tip over in wet and windy weather. So what I'll do, once I've cut the shape, I'm going to go in the tree and I'm just going to use 3 simple guidelines. I'm going to cut off any branches that are heading down. So here's one right there. It's coming down from here and it's heading to the ground. That's going to go. I'm going to cut anything that's heading back into the tree. I want to open the inside of this tree up like a hand to let all of that good sunlight in. And the third thing is anything that's going to cross. So this one here is going to cross other branches, and it's also heading back up into the tree. Snip, that will be gone. In fact, that'll be gone anyway, because you can see at this point in time, that whole branch is actually heading back into the tree, so it will go. So we want the tree to come outwards. Now citrus are heavy feeders, so don't be scared to go fairly heavy on the fertilizer. They are also thirsty. Oh, I've got insects attacking me. They're quite thirsty, so they need to be regular watering, and they need lots and lots of sunlight. So generally 6 hours of direct sunlight per day. Now this particular one Gets a reasonable amount of sunlight, but there are gum trees all around it. So I think we're just lucky with this tree. It's certainly been well maintained in the past, and if we can give it a good prune today, it's going to give us a good crop of lemons, and it will continue to be a top little tree. So sit back, relax, and watch me cut about 30% of this tree away. You never want more than that. Now, it may look like more because I'm going to open the inside of the tree up and it's going to look like I've just completely decimated, but about 30% is your maximum. Okay, let's get into it. All right, we'll just go get a close up here. So we've got a situation where it's quite dense and we have these crossing each other. So one of them has to go. So what we'll do now is go around this area, do a bit of a clean up. If we look at the front here, it's quite open now. That's looking quite good. The height is nice. It's a little bit elongated, but I think, well, that's okay. The inside is mostly clean. And we've just got a little bit of work to do just around this side, just where they're crossing branches. All right, so we'll just do those and we're pretty much done. Okay, so what we have now is the finished product, or close enough. And it can also be tweaked, of course. We've got a little piece out here that might need a little bit more off it, and we've got a few more other bits and pieces that might need doing. But that's okay, it's not an exact art. Now, I've taken a lot out of the inside and it looks like I've decimated the tree, but actually most of what I've taken out is small branches from the inside, heading back towards the inside or heading crosswise or downwards. And what it's done, it's opened up the tree from the top, so you're going to get lots and lots of sunlight in there. And look at it, it's nice and clean, it's looking very good. Oops, I've just realised I've missed one piece there. Look at this one, it's heading back in towards the tree. Snip, snip. There we go. We don't want anything heading in. What we want is we want things heading outwards. So we're going to open up like a hand like that as much as we possibly can. Now that tree, now in spring, is going to come and give a great flush of growth. And we're now well set up for doing a little micro prune if we need to, but really that's it for the year. It's nice and clean on the inside. It's going to open up for that beautiful sunlight. And what we're going to do now is we're going to continue the maintenance, and we're going to give this fella a bit of a feed. Now, if you're thinking Jason's tree's been pared back, take a look at these. These are two dwarf orange trees that I have, and I've pruned them exactly the same way. They've opened out like a hand, so you can see the whole inside of the tree. Forget the weeds there. The whole inside of the tree's open up, and look at how much fruit it's got on it. This thing is so healthy. All these blossoms here will turn into fruit. Absolutely loaded. And this one, which is the bigger of the two trees, absolutely the same. Opened out like a hand, Lots of sunlight getting in there, and it is glossy and green, really incredibly healthy, huge amounts of blossoms, and I'm going to get masses of fruit off this thing in a few months from now. And that's been pruned exactly the same way that we just pruned Jason's. Pruned all the inside out, let the light in. So now that we've given this citrus a prune, what's next? Well, what's next is maintenance. And citrus need three things. Citrus need lots of sunlight. So we've opened it up like a hand, and that's going to let the sun in. So it's going to get plenty of sun. They also need a drink fairly regularly, so you need to keep the water up to a citrus. You don't want to drown them, but you want to make sure they're getting plenty of the good stuff. And the third thing they need is that they're heavy feeders. So I'm going to hit this today with actually 3 foods. The first one is just a generic pelletized fertilizer. This is just a dynamic lifter. It's reasonably good. It's a good bulk fertilizer, but it's only around 4% nitrogen. So I'm going to spread about, well, I've got this much. I'm going to spread about 600 mils of this around the base of the tree. You can actually put a lot more than this on if it's the only fertilizer you're using. But we're also going to give it a specialized citrus and fruit fertilizer. And we're going to be spreading that around as per the instructions on the back. Now with your fertilizer, what you normally do is spread it around the drip line. So water comes down from the tree, and the water's actually moved to the outside of the tree by the leaves. And of course that's your drip line, that's where you put your fertilizer, because the water hits it and washes it into the ground. However, we've opened this tree up. So for the moment, water's going to go straight through it, and we can just spread the fertilizer all around underneath the tree. So I'm going to put both of those down there. As well as that, I'm going to give it a fairly fast acting power feed, so a liquid fertilizer, just a green power feed. And in that, I'm also going to be putting in some sea salt, which is a tonic, if you like, made from seaweed, and that has iodine and some other nutrients in there that's just going to help this plant really take off. So with your power feeds, now most of the time you only need a cap, but if you look on the back here, for trees it's 90 mils every 2 weeks. So I would be getting a litre of this and using that up over spring. This stuff smells delicious. Ugh. 90 mils. Yep, pretty close. So that's the power feed, and that's got all your fertilizer in there. Now I'm going to put in some sea salt tonic. You don't need to put much of this in. And I put these together every time I water. Now the third thing I'm putting in is some of this stuff. This is trace elements. Now your fertilizers have your nitrogen, your potassium, your phosphorus. They might have a bit of calcium and a few bits and pieces. This one, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, manganese, iron, copper, zinc, boron, and molybdenum. It's all those trace elements that plants need, but often don't get through commercial fertilizers. And some years ago, I had a fruit tree that had lots and lots of flowers. And come the first big wind, all those flowers blew away. So I spoke to someone in a nursery, and they suggested trace elements. And now, I put this in at the start of each season. I give it a good feed. So the liquid fertilizer and the seaweed I do every couple of weeks, but the trace elements once a quarter, along with the other fertilizers, these slow release fertilizers. So what I'll do is I'll put those on first, and I'm just going to sprinkle those around the base of the tree. Oops. I'll also sprinkle the plastic container. Now, our instructions here. Okay, so this is 500 grams for every year of the tree's age. And the only way I'm going to tell that is cut it in half and count the rings. So I'm going to have to just have a bit of a guess. And I'm going to give this a pretty good feed. It's a well-established tree. And that, along with the general purpose rapid razor, is going to set this thing up for a good year. And we've still got some left there for the other citrus. Might give it a bit more. There we are. That is done. All that's left to do is water that in. And of course we're going to be out here over summer at least twice a week. And that water is just going to work on the on that slow release. Oops. And slowly wash it into the soil. But of course this stuff, being a rapidly acting liquid fertilizer, will be available to the tree a lot quicker. And yes, you can put a little bit on the tree. The leaves will soak some of that up, and that is good stuff. It is smelly stuff, but one man's treasure is another man's treasure. So we think it's smelly, the tree loves it. I'll just let that come out a bit quicker. There we are. And that's the whole 10 litres for this tree. It's quite well established, so it's getting the lot. Okay, it's going to feel like a new tree. It's the weight of all that foliage and branches that weren't doing a lot. And I think we've got a little bit of trace elements undissolved. That's okay, we'll put them down like that. Okay, and there you go. That is pruning and maintaining a citrus. Now every 2 weeks, Jason will come out here and give it a liquid feed and a little bit of seaweed tonic. And then, of course, at the start of summer, we'll give it the slow release fertilizer again, probably both barrels, the generic one along with your specific citrus one. And that's 4 times a year. Even when it's becoming dormant, when it's colder, you still do it, start of autumn, start of winter. But you can sort of pare back on the liquid feeding about that stage because they're not producing much fruit. Let's take a look at this lemon tree. Now the lemon tree's been opened out, it's got that really nice round shape. The inside's all been opened up. As you can see, we're getting lots of flowers, and these will all turn into fruits. In fact, you can see here, for example, right there, that's going to be fruit there. That'll be a fruit there. I can't zoom in too much, but you get the idea. Here we go, there's a couple more. And that's the flowers turning into fruits. So looking really, really healthy. Opened right out on the inside. Very healthy tree. It's got all the sunlight it needs now. It's going to get plenty of water, and now it's got all the feed it needs, and this is going to be a healthy tree. So there you go. There's your citrus. Prune to size, shape it, anything heading in, anything heading down, anything heading across, and get rid of it if it's dead, diseased or damaged. And you pretty much can't go too far wrong. All right guys, thanks for your time, and until next time, happy gardening. See ya.